Hello there, it has been a pretty stressful week. I actually did a video earlier, I did it a week ago, and then straight away deleted all the footage that I'd done just because. And then also, like, because of the virus stuff, I've got some part-time jobs now, and I did a lot of work on one of them and also deleted all of that. So there's just something wrong with my brain, and I blame the weather. Like, the first half of this week, suddenly it was just like the worst kind of humidity ever that I've ever experienced, like all the time I've been in Japan. It was like, kind of chilly, but also just so oppressively humid. And like mold just appeared out of nowhere on my windows. There was a cockroach in my house. Like my head was getting all dizzy and stuff like that. And like I couldn't think straight and just always feeling exhausted all the time. And I was just like, the clouds were like gray and rainy and not rainy, and it was just, this is the worst rainy season ever that I've ever experienced anyways. So like, I envy all you people out in dry climates, and solidarity with all us wet climate folks. Sean from the future here. I also feel compelled to add that humidity makes the cooking salts stick together in weird, like, moist clumps, so that, like, basically it's really hard to judge how much salt you're putting on stuff, and all my eggs were salty this week. Anyway, that was the first half of the week. I've kind of, like, turned the week around, and my mood is better, I'm less stressed, I've gotten on top of things, there's no more mold on my windows, the house is being thoroughly cleaned, so I am feeling a bit better, even though, like, my skin is still pretty awful, and I blame the humidity on that as well. But yeah, I thought I'll make another video, not the same one as I did last time, because that's just sad because I lost all the footage. I'm going to do a new one, and it's a 2-month-old book tag, and also, like, I didn't get tagged or anything, so I know this is not how you're supposed to do this, but whatever. I just want to, like, kind of make a fun video. The questions I thought were really cute, actually, when I read them, kind of unusual tag, so I wanted to answer these questions and talk about books, so here we go. So the tag is about cryptozoology, which is like the study of animals which aren't really real. Animals which have not been discovered, or like usually like mythical kind of animals. So like Bigfoot, Yeti, Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that. Chupacabra. Now, like, in the past, the only way you'd know if an animal existed, like in a far off place, would be like, there'd be rumors and stuff. Like, people would go and say, there's this thing which looks like a duck bill, but it's like a beaver tail and lays eggs and this stuff. And then, and that, they'd say that's a cryptid because there's no, like, kind of proof for its existence. There's just a lot of people say it exists. So a platypus would have been like a cryptid. So actually, real animals have been, like, cryptids at different points in history. It's kind of an interesting topic. Anyway, this is a cryptid book tag. So question number 1, a cryptid is a mystery animal whose fans say it definitely could exist. How do you deal with books recommended to you by their fervent, true believers? So I read them, is the simple answer. Yeah, if somebody is so enthusiastic and passionate about a book that they really want to just recommend it to me, that already kind of sells me on the book a little bit, especially if, like, the person is someone whose values I trust or whose opinions I trust when it comes to books, or just in general, like if it's a friend or whatever. But even if it's not, like, I'm the kind of person who reads religious pamphlets if they're given out to me. I don't know, I always feel like if someone wants me to read something, then that's already kind of interesting. I don't often get great reading experiences this way, but it's, I don't know, that's just who I am, I guess. I read stuff that people want me to read. Question number 2. Cryptozoology is typically mocked as a pseudoscience pursued by charlatans and scientific illiterates, and yet it's oddly fun to investigate. Name a non-cryptology kind of book that's likewise fun, though deeply, deeply flawed. So, in keeping with the theme of animals, which is why I like this list, I'm going to go with the Redwall series. This is a book series that I completely devoured when I was young, at least up to a certain point. And yeah, the Redwall book series, for those who don't know, are kind of like a fantasy adventure, like story, like kind of feudalistic times, I guess, but they're all animals. All that characters are animals. And like the main ones are mice who live in an abbey called Redwall Abbey, and there's and the baddies are like rats and things like that, and they go to war, lots of battles and lots of feasts, and like some mystery often with like riddles. loads of descriptions of food. Anyway, I really love these stories, and they're really fun. And the deeply flawed part is the sort of speciesism. I think that's a word of the books. So like I said, like rats, but also ferrets, stoats, weasels. Basically, your whole cast of Wind in the Willows baddies are evil by virtue of their species. One of my favorite books in the Redwall series is The Outcast of Redwall. I named my goldfish after the main character, Sunflash, the badger. Although my fish sadly commits suicide by jumping out of his tank. But in the story, one of the main things is there's this bit where there's a rat or a stoat or a ferret or one of these things as like a little baby, an infant one, and they take it to the abbey and they raise it to be like good, like a mouse raises it or something, and it grows up and it's a rat or a ferret. Let's say it's a stoat. It's a stoat, and you just know it's evil, and it knows it's evil, and everyone knows it's evil, and it's its mouse mother who adopted it is like, no, he can be good, But we all know that deep down he is evil as hell, and he's gonna like mess everyone up, and he's gonna betray them, and sell them out to the rats, and it's just like you're just waiting for something terrible to happen. And he does like kind of struggle a bit, and I think he does some noble things at the end, but essentially the message of the book is that he can't change, he is evil, and that that's just the bottom line is nature over nurture. And I think at some age, I don't know when, but like when I was too young to articulate it, but a little bit older after I'd read the book, I think I had a sense that this was somehow wrong, like this essentialist idea of you are what your race dictates, like something to do with your biology just determines your character, your moral character, and the kind of all your morality. It doesn't matter if you have great parents who bring you up well or everything and teach you to be a great person. Deep down, if you're a ferret and you're going to fuck everyone up. So like, I just thought that was somehow a bit messed up, really, like to be teaching that to kids. And to be fair, I heard that he did get criticized for this, and in later books kind of changes it and like maybe makes like a good fox or a good weasel or something like that. But I never read those books, so I don't know. Anyway, the Redwall series, deeply flawed, lots of fun, lots of animals. Next question, Cryptid Water-Monsters, a favorite water-related book. So it says water-related, but I presume it means, in keeping with the cryptid thing, something to do with like, a big sea monster or a freshwater monster in the case of Nessie. So I'm gonna go with the Odyssey. The Odyssey has some great sea monsters. I think I don't know if it's just the sirens and Scylla and Charybdis. I'm not sure if I pronounced them right, but Scylla and Charybdis. For those who don't know, there's a bit in the Odyssey where Circe tells Odysseus. I think it's Circe. Someone tells Odysseus you have to go one of two ways in your boat. One is by these cliffs where Scylla lives. She's like a big monster she's got six heads, and as you pass underneath her cave, those 6 heads will eat 6 of the people on board your boat without fail. Or you go the other way where Charybdis lives at the bottom of the sea, and she's constantly sucking up the sea and then vomiting it back out. So you got like a kind of whirlpool situation, and there's a high chance that your whole boat will get sucked down. So Odysseus has to make this choice, and I don't know, like, do you know the expression between the devil and the deep blue sea? Like, it means like between a rock and a hard place. Like, I love this expression, and I always thought that it was just taken from the Odyssey, because Charybdis is the deep blue sea, you drown, and Scylla is the devil, like some demonic thing that torments you, and you have to make the choice between 2 bad options. But I looked on the internet and I couldn't find anything that confirms any link between the two, but it's got to be right. So I'm really kind of puzzled about that, and if anybody knows that it does come from the Odyssey, then please let me know, because it's bothering me, to be honest. Question number 4, Cryptid Dog-Monsters, a favorite book about a dog or dog-like creature. What have I got here? So the first thing I thought of was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which was, I think, my favorite Harry Potter, and the Grim, the big black dog is a big thing through it, and that popped into my head. I remember I liked that dog. The next one was Dracula. Of course, Dracula turns into a dog, and it's not the main thing, but he is a cool, freaky dog. But my favorite one isn't a novel, but a short story from Victor Gogol. I got this book. This is like one of the few hardback books I have, and like I just really like the cover of it. But yeah, Gogol's Diary of a Madman is in this. I first read it in a different paperback like years and years ago, during like my undergrad, and yeah, there's a bit in Diary of a Madman. Well, kind of the point of Diary of a Madman, the main plot thing that starts the whole story is that this guy overhears dogs talking to each other, and he realizes that the woman that he likes, her dog is kind of having some sort of like romantic correspondence with another dog. So he decides to intercept their letters to see if he can find out stuff about the human woman that he has a crush on. And the bits where you read the dog's letters to each other with the sort of like interjections of the crazy guy, the crazy human guy, they're just some of my absolute favorite things in literature. They're really funny, they're really weird, and the guy who's reading them keeps getting like annoyed because they're like too doggy and talking about silly dog things instead of sensible human things, and it's just great. I love it. My favorite dog related literature, definitely. Number 5, Cryptid Biped Monsters, a favorite book featuring a hominid who isn't Homo sapiens. So first one that popped into my head is The Midwich Cuckoos. This is probably my favorite book by John Wyndham, who wrote The Day of the Triffids, and it's about a cozy little town in the countryside in England where one day all the women suddenly become pregnant at exactly the same time, and this leads to some sort of like interesting things where, you know, like some people think, well, you were cheating on me, or, you know, like there's a little bit of drama until everyone realizes that it happened to everyone at the same time. So you know, it's some sort of immaculate conception here, but it's not Jesus or God or anything. It is in fact something not of this world. It's something we presume to be extraterrestrial. So whatever inseminated the women is sort of a mystery. So when they have the babies, which are all like blonde and blue-eyed and kind of Aryan looking and freaky, then there's the sort of the question of what are the babies. You know, they're obviously part human because they were, you know, like they developed in the women's bodies, but they're obviously part something that's not human. And it's a great story. It's really good. It's been done as a movie. I think Children of the Damned or Children of the Corn or Children of something. Haven't seen it. But yeah, it's a really great story. John Wyndham's normally not so great on gender stuff, but necessarily he kind of has to give the women some voices in this story. Because, you know, they're like a big part of the story. So you get some interesting characterizations about how different people in the town deal with a problem differently, you know, and how people, you know, deal with the fact that they are, you know, their children that they gave birth to, but also, you know, they are children of something else that was kind of forcibly implanted on them. And it's, it's just got a lot of cool themes and it's great. Number 6, Cryptid Avian Monsters, a favorite book featuring a bird. I have it here. Ali Smith's The Story of Antigone. So her retelling of Antigone is phenomenal. And the reason is sort of the central kind of like change that she's done, and the idea, kind of like the pitch for this, like the elevator pitch kind of idea, which completely made me fall in love with it. And made me gush about it to a friend who got it for me for my birthday. Best present ever. Anyway, the idea is that it's told or like largely narrated from the point of view of a crow. And in the original play by Sophocles, crows and dogs and, you know, like kind of just wildlife have a really important role because they, you know, like eat dead people. They're scavengers and they desecrate dead bodies, and they just sort of stand for like nature, which is unforgiving and also just like, you know, above all the laws and ideas of man. And yeah, in Antigone, like for those who don't know, the central premise is there were two brothers in a war, and both of them died. And the one who was on the winning side is going to be given a burial and like the, you know, all the sort of rites and stuff for the gods, and so his soul can depart and go to the underworld. And the one who was on the losing side, his body is going to be left out to be eaten by carrion and to be like kind of just left to nature, which was a terrible thing because if you don't give a proper burial, then his soul will never be able to go down to the underworld, and so it's like a really sacrilegious thing. And Antigone is the sister of the two brothers who decides that she's not going to stand for that nonsense. She's going to go and she's going to bury her brother. So the idea of telling this really like classic, wonderful political story, the best princess story ever, in my opinion, the idea of telling it from the point of view of the animals that are going to eat her brother, and eventually, like a lot of people, because people die in this, is just amazing. And like it's like it reads like it's kind of like a kid version, so it makes sense to have talking animals. But it's so twisted and dark that the talking animals are talking about stuff like eating the main characters of the story. And yeah, I just love the premise. I love the whole thing behind it. It's probably my favorite Greek myth retelling that I've read so far. Number 7, Cryptid Cat Monsters, a favorite book featuring a cat. Extra points if the cat is terrifyingly enormous. So the first one I thought of for this was The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, which is the only H.G. Wells I've read. But if I remember right, there is a kind of freaky cat monster in this, as in like, I thought this book would be a good one just for this tag because it's about kind of like, it mixes, animals and parascience, cryptic science, parascientific, pseudoscience, kind of pseudoscience and animals. But it's, and it's science fiction, so that kind of fits cryptozoology stuff. There's H.G. Wells himself looking very dapper with a cup of what I guess is tea there. Anyway, yeah, I really like this, and I'm pretty sure one of the main kind of freaky animal hybrid things on the island is called like a cat man or a cat beast or something like that, or panther maybe. However, my favorite work of fiction with a big cat in it is probably the short story Bestiary by Julio Cortázar, about a girl who goes to stay with some relatives over the summer in their little house. And it's kind of mentioned casually that she has to be careful in this house because there's a tiger in it. And it's a magical realist thing. So the tiger is not like the plot, it's just something in the background, but it makes the plot wonderful because, like the narrator is a little girl. So the fact that she kind of just accepts this and be like, okay, yeah, got to be careful for the tiger, got to check the door, always go through this way. And, like sometimes I'm like, there's a servant in the house who says like, we can't go in the living room today because that's where the tiger is, so we're going to have dinner in this room. And the idea that like the space of the house has always got this kind of threat in it that everyone just has to avoid, is the backdrop to the exploring the personalities and the relationships of all the people in the house. And I love it, and it's great. And what else? The question is about like my favorite book with a cat in it, but if the question was about my favorite cat in a book, then that would be Coraline by Neil Gaiman, because the cat in that is fantastic. The cat is like, it's just really like sassy and cat-like and feline, but he gets exactly the right balance of like the cat being an ally to Coraline, who's this young girl in a strange Alice in Wonderland, twisted, freaky world. And being an ally and also being kind of like possibly a threat, and not really a threat, but just like, only self-interested, and in the way that cats tend to be. And yeah, I just remember that like he manages to use the cat as both a friend character, but also something which makes Coraline, I always said Coraline when I was a kid, I think it's Coraline though, have to rely on her own thing, on herself, and like kind of be a bit isolated. And yeah, it's just the best cat that I've read. And the last one, a multi-part question. Are you in fact a cryptid? Give yourself 1 point for each yes. So I'll just run through these, I guess. Are you often met by disbelief or even horror by those who encounter you? I would say no, probably. That's just for people who get to know me. Are there people in the world who consider you mostly or entirely mythical? Maybe my family. I speak to them usually once a week, but we were supposed to meet this summer, but then, coronavirus and stuff, so they don't see a lot of me. Both my immediate family and my larger family around the world probably just have a vague idea of there's a Sean and he's probably somewhere in Asia, I think, or yeah. Is there anything about you that science finds puzzling? I have a neuralgic disorder. on the trigeminal nerve on the right side of my face, which is it took a long time to diagnose and it's not very well understood. There was ages that I was seeing loads of different specialists, and when I finally got the diagnosis for the neuralgiform disorder that I do have, it was after several meetings with like two specialists, both who like are specialists for different like neuralgic things, and asking me loads of questions, and then at the end of it they were kind of like, this seems a bit more like my thing, but that's more like your thing, so I guess you can take him, I guess he's yours. So anyway, lots of people were puzzled, including me. In your natural state, do you typically emit odd noises or odors? Yes, if we include what I try to pass off as singing. Are you an evolutionary dead end scorned by the modern world? I guess like as a human, yes, because humans, I don't know, I feel like we don't really evolve, or we're not really evolving, because we did, evolution, the animals adapt to the environment, whereas we tend to just like adapt the environment to our needs. So if we're too cold, we don't move to a warmer place, or we don't like kind of evolve into a different kind of animal. We just heat the place up, especially if it's like the whole planet. We tend to like trash environments rather than change to be adapted to them. So yeah, I would say as a human, yes, I am an evolutionary dead end. Do you occasionally exhibit near human levels of intelligence? I think it kind of depends what you mean by intelligence. So like I have a PhD, so that's one thing, but by choosing to pursue a PhD, that means that I don't have a steady job, and I'm 30 and still have to worry about things like paying my bills and asking my parents for money for stuff. So yeah, some people would say that's really not intelligent when it comes to making life choices that lead to stability and so on. So yeah, I guess it depends where you fall in that. I can write a great essay. I can write a pretty good essay, but I can't really sustain a functioning lifestyle. So I guess I'm not intelligent. Right, that's it. That is the cryptid book tag. I hope you enjoyed listening to my answers. I'm going to make that video again that I accidentally deleted, and a whole bunch more, and hopefully be able to update this more often. Next week I've got like a holiday and stuff because of Umi no Hi, and I'm gonna have time, so it should be good. See you in the next video. Bye bye.